Okay, so far we've got Kieran in Whitefield in Manchester. So Kieran's actually presenting on the course today, on the session today. We've got somebody joining us from Sheffield, which is fantastic. Mike is also presenting, he's just joined us on camera now. Sandbach, so there's a bit of a north focus going on here, I think, at the moment. Staley Bridge and Poynton, and another person from across the Pennines in Sheffield as well. It's good to hear from you all. Hopefully some of you might be back in the office. Some of you will still be working from home like me. I've got my fantastic Roman baths behind me, so you can see what's been going on in our house. I think there's a Tudor house being built back there as well. So yeah, we're still sort of mixing it up as to working from home. But the university is open again, and we have got a couple of courses that are running in there, which we can highlight what's going on in terms of COVID later on in the session. So I think we're sort of 2 minutes past the hour now. I'll welcome Mike Kennard and Kieran McCourt, who are going to be presenting the session today. And Kieran's going to kick off shortly.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. I know there's several people will be watching this on the recording. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you too as well. So you're joining us today for the topic is leadership skills you need right now. We're actually talking about our Manchester Leadership Development Programme and how what you can learn on that programme fits nicely into some of the challenges we may be facing as we begin that return to work. So what are we going to cover today? Well, before we do that, a few introductions in the chat box, which has been great, but I'd also like to take the time to introduce my colleagues. So starting colleagues, would you like to introduce yourselves, please? Starting with you, Mike.
So, morning everybody. My name is Dr. Mike Kennard. I'm the Academic Programme Director for the Manchester Leadership Development Programme, and I also teach on the programme the Strategy and Innovation Day. So I'll be giving a quick summary of the programme and maybe some insights into what drives organisational success later on within this presentation.
Thanks,
Hi,
Mike.
everybody. I'm Jo Blade. I look after the marketing for this particular course and other executive education programs at the business school, and often run the events like this, and will be the person in the chat sort of answering your questions as we go along today.
Thank you, Jo. And as Jo said, I'm Kieran. So I work in client relations. So I get involved in a lot of the promotion and recruitment for applications for the program. So if you do want to apply, we'll probably be having a chat at some point. So what we're going to cover today is, first of all, we're going to look at going back. What does that mean for different people? I know some people have gone back completely. Some people never left work. A lot of people have been working from home. We're going to look a little bit about the skills you might need to navigate some of the transition that lies ahead. We're also then going to pass over to my colleague, Dr. Mike Kennard, to talk about the Manchester Leadership Development Programme and how that might fit with some of those skills that you need. And then we're going to leave a good slot at the end for Q&A. So if you've got questions, as Jo said, start popping them into the chat box as we go, so that by the end we can kind of pull them all together and we'll go through them one at a time. Okay. So we're back. And in the words of Take That, we're not back for good, but well, we're back sort of, but back different. You know, so things are different. We are going back. A lot of people are thinking about going back or started the process of going back, but it's not quite the same, is it? You know, not everything's the same as it was. So it's sort of, we're in this bit of a hybrid sort of or liminal space where it's not quite, you know, we haven't quite made that transition. So what are some of the things that are different? Well, I just put on the screen, take a minute to have a look through, see if there's anything in there that you recognize. So things like relationships. Now they've changed a lot. You know, some people we haven't been able to see, some people we've got closer to through the benefits and the magic of Zoom. How we work, our working lives, our work-life balance, where we work, all of that's changed. For some people, their shopping habits have changed. Some people are managing to save money. Some people have lost income. How we socialize, even our wardrobe choices have changed. A lot has changed, including, as I've noticed, pet ownership has skyrocketed as well. So those are some of the personal changes that we may have experienced in the last 12 months. What about the business changes that lie ahead? Well, it's time to get you involved. So hopefully you're happy. I'm going to put a poll on the screen in a couple of seconds. And that poll is, we're just looking now at business and looking at your organizations. So which of the following areas do you think will be the biggest change for you? So You should be seeing the first poll on screen right now. So you can choose a couple of these. So what's going to be the biggest change for you? Is it working together differently? You know, some people are going to be at work, some people are going to be at home. Is it that your business has changed? You're having to reorganize, reposition? Are you having to hire new people because the business is growing? Or have your customers changed? You know, they're no longer coming into store, they're now all buying remotely. Is it your own work-life balance? Have you decided, do you know what? I quite like working from home, or I'm only going to work 3 days a week. What is it that you think is going to be the biggest change for you? So we've got a few more votes coming in. That's almost everybody, 1 or 2 more. I'm just going to give it a second more. We've got a couple of people joining us late. Hopefully they'll be able to jump on the poll. Okay, I think it's probably time I ended polling in about now. So let's have a look at the results. Well, it's hardly surprising that working together differently, whether you're working office or home or a combination, has come out at 75% of you voted that as the top, and also changes to the work-life balance. Mike, you teach and you lead the program. Any thoughts on any of these?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. So working together differently, it's going to bring in some new leadership challenges. You know, so if we are working remotely, or if we're working in a hybrid fashion, it's how do we lead our teams? How do we interact with our customers, our clients, our other stakeholders? One of the really interesting ones for me is what was quite low, adapting to changes in customer behavior. So that's come out quite low, but the question I would ask is, do we know that customer behavior will stay the same, or might that change as well? So we're changing the way that we are working. You know, maybe it's a fair assumption that customers might change as well. So being kind of alert to that and agile to that, and seeing some of the emerging opportunities to potential changes in customer behavior, I think that's going to be really helpful for organizations.
Thanks, Mike. I think, you know, those elements of like horizon scanning and responding to those changes in the environment, and also how that impacts on your leadership, are themes that crop up day after day on the leadership program, that Manchester Leadership Development Program. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the results for now, and let's go back to the deck. So of the changes that we talked about there, we looked at changes to working from home, working in the office. We looked at changes in consumer behavior. We looked at changes in your work-life balance. We know that there are changes ahead. We may not know exactly what they are going to be, but there's a very good chance they're probably going to affect you in these sort of areas, at least one, if not more than one of these areas. First of all, change is going to affect you. Well, that, as the poll bears that out, change is going to affect you. Second thing, it's probably going to affect your team. Some people may be working from home, some people may be in the office. Your targets may have shifted. You may be experiencing fantastic growth. You may be a business that's actually contracting, but targets are going to be shifting. And that affects your plans. What's your strategy going to be? How are you going to respond to these changes? And inevitably, because we know that management is about getting stuff done, your projects, maybe going into the pandemic, you had these brilliant projects that have now just been put on hold. Maybe there's some new projects that have just come up from nowhere all of a sudden that you're having to tackle and to deliver in a very short space of time. So these are all areas that I think whatever that change is going to be, it's probably going to impact at least one, if not more, of these areas. So I'm not really predicting the future, but what could we expect in terms of the skills we might need? What could we expect? Well, from the future, I don't think it's a big risk to say that we can expect a bit more complexity, perhaps a lot more uncertainty, and certainly a lot of change. But also, what are the implications for leaders and for leadership? Well, with all of those expectations, the complexity and uncertainty and change, people are going to expect a lot more from leaders and a lot more leadership. You know, we're going to need it to get through and navigate these next few months and weeks. So with all of this change, is happening, changes at home, changes at work. Again, another question for you. Which aspects of leadership, so we're just going to look at leadership now, which aspects of leadership do you think will be the most important? And I'm afraid it's time for another poll. You folks are going to be earning your registration here this morning. So this is a different poll about which of the following will be the most important leadership skills for you. Which do you think are the skills that you would really need over the next 12 months? You can pick two. So is it adapting your leadership, being able to flex and adapt to change? Is it about having an effective team? Is it about keeping an eye on the numbers? Because you can be a great leader, but if the numbers ain't there, you know, you kind of, there's big implications for that. Is it developing new strategy? Is it kind of changing your plans? Or is it that you've been tasked with a big project and you've got to go and deliver that? So is it leadership? Are we looking at teams? Is it the money? Is it strategy? Is it delivering and getting things done? Which do we think it's going to be? Voting is fast and furious. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds because this is the closest I ever get to X Factor. So I'll give it a couple more seconds. I'm going to end polling. Oh, last one creeping in. Okay, let's end polling and let's share the results. Before I do, what do we think? You know, okay. Again, possibly not a big surprise, but adaptive leadership, team working, coming out on top. Well, that probably chimes pretty well with what we saw in the previous about the hybrid working. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of the program and how these two themes fit with the program?
Yeah, so the program, it's a leadership program. How do you lead more effectively, more efficiently? How do you cope with changes within your organization, changes within the wider work environment? And it's difficult, you know, like leading, it's always a challenge, and it's a challenge now more than ever. So insights and theories and frameworks and models which can allow us to have the insights to lead more effectively, very, very useful. And leadership today, it's not so much about telling your teams what to do. It's about working with your teams and delegating and supporting and coaching your teams so that they can achieve success. So that kind of aspect of leadership, teamwork can fit very, very close together. Developing new strategy, you know, well, there's new opportunities on the horizon. Is your current strategy still fit for purpose in a post-COVID-19 world? And if you do need to develop a new strategy, what steps would you take to ensure that it's so robust? Lower ones, developing successful projects. You know, well, you know, strategy, it's about execution. You know, so you might have a fantastic strategy, but if you don't have the project management skills and expertise and insights to execute and to implement your strategy, then it's not going to be as successful as you can. Managing finance, one person. Thank you, that one person, for voting for finance. I shall pass that on to our finance associate fellow Nigel Moody. He will laugh. But it's quite a common reaction. In a previous role, I was MBA director at Aston Business School, and we have a whole finance module, and a lot of people approach it with a bit of trepidation, you know, especially if they're not familiar with, you know, accountancy and, you know, balance sheets and cash flow, etc. But it's really, really important, you know, to understand how businesses operate and understand how decisions are taken. Understanding how the finance fits in is very, very important. So people who feel that's a low priority, hopefully by kind of developing your insights in finance, it will show how it kind of fits together and integrates within the wider organization. I have to say, for anybody who's worried, this isn't a program that's going to turn you into a finance director or an accountant. It's merely there to enable you to understand how the finance side and the money side and the figures fit into the wider organization.
Thank you, Mike. And I can speak from personal experience. I was lucky enough to go on the program myself. And I can tell you that on the day that you do the finance module, everybody is terrified, sweaty palms. Everyone's looking at each other, absolutely kind of beside themselves. It's still one of the highest rated of our modules on the program because you learn the language. You can actually join a financial conversation. So it's incredibly valuable. And in these times of furlough, of contraction and massive expansion, knowing the numbers is proving to be really important for lots of organizations. So I'm going to stop sharing the results now. Let's get back to the slide deck. And just to recap on those areas, these are the skills that we think that you might need or would actually be very helpful in navigating the next few months, both from a personal leadership point of view, looking at leadership and teams, but also from a commercial management point of view, you know, making sure you've got control of the finances, that you do have a strategy. And to Mike says, you know, you've got project management skills to implement it. And we see lots of people come through this program, and many of them have got sort of elements of all of these, but very few people have got it all. So these are the 5 aspects, these are the 5 skills, the 5 areas that we think are really important. And that's why we sort of embed them in this program we call the Manchester Leadership Development Program. And now I'll take a pause so you can stop listening to me, and I'll hand over to my colleague Mike as he takes you through the next few slides.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Manchester Leadership Development Program. This is, I think, our kind of flagship open management development program, leadership development program. It's split it into sort of 5 areas: leadership, managing teams, finance, strategy and innovation, and also project management. Next slide, please, Karen. So one of the questions that we ask ourselves, practitioners, companies, organizations, business schools, academics, this key question, what drives success? And it's a really difficult question. There's not an easy answer. This isn't a program that says, there are five foolproof steps to driving success, and if you do it like a cake recipe and put it in the oven, your organization will be successful, because it's much more complex and complicated than that. But we can draw insights from successful organizations. So I've just put a handful of successful organizations there that I guess everybody recognizes. Some of these organizations, they've been successful through innovative products. So maybe you can think about Apple and the iPhone. Maybe you can think about Dyson and dual cyclone vacuum cleaner. Maybe Tesla with their electric cars. Some of these organizations, they've been successful through innovative services. So if you think about Microsoft, their software as a service and also their business services. You think about Starbucks. Do Starbucks sell you a product as in coffee, or is a service the kind of ambience of the coffee shop itself? Some of these organizations, they've been successful through new and innovative business models. So you can think of maybe Amazon with an online retail platform. Maybe you can think about Ryanair with a low-cost business model for their airline, or maybe Dell. So Dell asked themselves, why is it that computers are so much more expensive than the component parts? And they changed their business model so that people could order bespoke computers online at a much lower cost than a standard retail model. And some of these organizations, they develop brand new markets. So Google developing a market for search engines, Facebook developing a market for social media networks. So all of these organizations, they've done things differently. They've seen opportunities in the market, and they've grown very rapidly. Can you click on, Kieran? So 3 things which are kind of underpins the success of these companies, leadership, innovation, and also execution. So leadership, adaptive leadership, developing teams is what we touched on in the polls. Innovation, so doing things slightly differently, trying to differentiate yourself from your competitors, seeing new opportunities and exploiting them. And then finally, execution. So, having a plan, having a strategy, seeing a new opportunity is very important. But being able to execute, being able to actually implement the plan, take your new offerings to market, engage with your customers, very important. And we're talking about kind of private sector businesses, but these are also important for public sector organizations. So we do a lot of work with local governments, central government, the civil service, and also the NHS. And whether you're in the private sector or the public sector, leadership, innovation, execution, key skills which underpin success. Next slide, please, Karen. So in terms of the program, the 3 aspects of the program. Firstly, knowledge and skills. So the program is built around looking at leadership teams, managing finance, managing strategy and innovation, and also project management. So you're learning from 5 core members of our faculty, including myself, but you're also learning from the other delegates within the room. So there's a real opportunity to network and kind of share experiences, share insights with the other delegates within the program. A second aspect, opportunity for a professional qualification. So if you wish, you can undertake an ILM level 7 award in leadership and management. Level 7 is equivalent to master's level. And finally, leadership coaching. So there's an opportunity for one-to-one sessions with coaches who will help you explore your own challenges and your own leadership style. Next slide, please, Kieran. So the way it fits together, it's 5 days. The first day, leadership and practice, leading yourself and also personal development. We use something called a Hogan assessment, which looks at your individual style, your individual strengths, individual blind spots, and really kind of explore how that links into your own leadership style. The second day, leading teams and talent. So how do you take that and apply it to leading your own teams and managing the talent within your teams and developing effective team working? It's so important in the modern working environment. Third session, finance and managers, understanding the numbers and asking the right questions. So as I said before, it's not about turning you into a finance director. It's about giving you the general overview to understand how the numbers, how the finances fit into the wider organization. I can say the member of faculty teaching this, Nigel Moody, very, very good at breaking it down, simplifying it, making it understandable. And as Kieran said, Nigel's feedback scores are consistently very, very high. The fourth day, strategy and innovation with myself. So, looking at what is strategy, how we can make strategic choices, how we can develop and craft strong strategies, and then looking at innovation. So how can we develop innovation, become more innovative as organizations, develop processes for driving innovation, and identify and seize new opportunities in the marketplace. And then finally, the last day, project management, getting things done. How do we deliver projects? What are the pitfalls? What are the barriers? How do we overcome them? And how can we deliver projects and execute within the organization? For those of you interested in the ILM Level 7 award, throughout those days, there's a work-based project. So you identify a challenge within your organization and you develop a project which overcomes that challenge, and then writes a reflective paper summarizing your experience, and also running through opportunity for leadership coaching. So one-on-one, 1 hour sessions, reflective sessions to explore your leadership style and some of your challenges. Next slide, please, Kieran. So the program, it's got a personal impact, so you undertake the program, you'll have new leadership skills and insights, new ways of thinking, greater confidence within your organization, leading your teams, opportunity for a professional qualification. You become part of University of Manchester executive network, so you're invited to events and speakers, and also developing your career, particularly if you're in your first management position, or maybe you're taking a step up to a more senior management position. This is a program that can support that career development. But there's also benefits to your organization and impact to the organization. So it's important for organizations to have effective leaders, for them to have applied practical skills. If you're an organization and you're undergoing some change or maybe repositioning within the market, this is a program that can act as a kind of catalyst for that. If you're an organization looking to grow or to improve productivity, that links into the program. Retaining talent, so organizations who invest in their people, develop their people, tend to retain those people. It's kind of develops that bond, develops that loyalty. And finally, the business project, so for those delegates undertaking the ILM element, you'll be working on a real life business project, a challenge, and trying to overcome that challenge that benefits the organization through that as well. Next slide, please, Karen. So the duration of the program, it's intense. So it's 1 week, Monday to Friday, starting at 9, finishing at 5. There are breaks. There's a lunch break as well. The coaching runs over 3 months for 3 1-hour sessions. Some delegates in previous runnings of the program have wanted more coaching, and that's absolutely fine. So if you wanted to book more sessions with the coaches, we can facilitate that. And the ILM project, that runs over 6 months, from start, inception, development, and then finally writing it up and an opportunity to present to your sponsors within your organization. In terms of dates, when it's next running, 21st of June, it's fully booked. So when we were arranging this webinar, it wasn't fully booked, but now it is. That said, if the June date is the one that is most attractive to you, we might have people who drop out. So if you let Kieran know, we can put you on a waiting list for that. 18th of October is the next time it runs after June. There are places available. We tend to run no more than 24 people within the program. 24 is a good number, where we can really concentrate and have a deep dive in some of these subject areas, but there's enough people to have, good teamwork, good interaction. And again, you're learning, as well as learning from the faculty, you're also learning from the other delegates within the room. I think there are 17 bookings so far, so there are places available. And if you're interested in the 18th of October, please contact Kieran ASAP to book your place. And then we'll be announcing further sessions in due course. Next slide, please, Kieran. In terms of fees, you can specify which version of the program you want, what fits your needs the best. So the full program, which is the 5 modules, the 5 days, plus the ILM qualification, plus the coaching, is £4,990. It includes the modules, the ILM award, the coaching. You become a member of the ILM for 12 months. We give project webinars to support you through the project, and also access to e-learning. So we have an e-learning site that you get access to, and that also gives you access to all the course materials, and gives you access also to the university's e-library. So you'll be able to access all of the latest research and practitioner papers around the topic areas. The next version, if you didn't want to do the ILM qualification but are interested in the coaching, that's 4,740. So you get the core modules, the coaching, and also the e-learning access. Next version, modules, ILM award, but not coaching, 4,490. And if you're just interested in the modules and not the coaching or the ILM award, that's £3,990. Next slide, please, Kieran. So post-program, what you get after program is completed. Well, you get a certificate of completion from University of Manchester. You retain the e-learning access for 6 months. If you undertake the ILM award, you'll be awarded the level 7. Become part of the University of Manchester's and Alliance Manchester Business Schools executive network. So you'll be invited to talks and speakers and events throughout the year. The coaching continues after the taught modules have completed. And again, if you wanted to continue coaching, there's the opportunity to do that. And if you're undertaking the ILM aspect, you retain membership of the ILM for 12 months. And there's also access to quite a large database of really interesting and useful materials through the ILM, as well as the university's e-library. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of the Manchester Leadership Development Programme. I hope you found the webinar useful. We've got an opportunity now for questions and answers. I know some people might have put some questions in the chat. So Joe, is there a first question that...
Hold on, just while I get myself off mute, which is still an issue about 12 months after starting working from home. So Tony has sort of popped a question on there for us. Thanks, Tony, for your question. He is an experienced business manager. Is this the right sort of course for him as he's looking to update and refresh his skills? Does he fit the participant profile?
Mike, do you want me to go on the profile? You talk about the profile, I'll talk about the people that come on the course. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, can do. Do you want to go first, Karen?
Yeah, so yeah, Tony, absolutely. It's experienced managers all the way. We've got some very, very highly qualified people on the program, technically very, very qualified. What they haven't been given at any point generally in their career is that sort of leadership and management development piece. So yes, you would not be alone. You'd be in very good company, actually, of some very experienced, very well qualified, successful managers who have experience, but maybe haven't got all of the skills that they would want.
Yeah, I would echo that on the last program that ran, which was very recently. I think one of the good things was there's a real mix of people. So there's some people early career, some people mid career, and some people very senior. So some people were chief executive officers of quite substantial organizations. And I think one of the really positive things was that a lot of people they kind of go through their career and they get more and more senior roles, but they don't necessarily get the opportunity to kind of take a step back and to really think about how do I need to develop to become more effective. So absolutely, if you're more towards the senior end, I think it's the right program for you. And also, I sort of touched on this earlier, this opportunity to kind of interact with the other delegates on the program and kind of share experiences. It's nice to have a mixture of senior people and not so senior people who can kind of share their experiences and provide some kind of mutual support.
Great. We have another question from Ian. Thanks for joining us today, Ian. He's asked with regards to the funding for the programme, is there any funding available towards the costs or?
Yeah, Kieran's dying to take this one.
I'm terribly sorry, Ian. Unfortunately, at this stage, no, there isn't. But do you want to contact me anyway? We do have some discounted packages available. It's not funding per se, but it might make the program fees a little bit closer to the budget. So yeah, if you want to contact me online, there's an email address that appears at the end, and you could just reply to one of the invitations to the webinar. My details are on there.
Yeah.
Great question from Kilford. I think we anticipated this one might come up. Is there an online delivery of this program, not the 5 days face-to-face delivery?
Yeah, we do deliver it online, and the most recent delivery was online. There's a slightly different schedule because what we don't want to do is kind of sort of 5 days in a row, 7 hours a day online through Zoom is quite difficult to do for delegates. So we tend to split that up over 7 to 9 weeks with some kind of gaps between deliveries. So you'll have 1 day delivery online, then a gap, then another day delivery online. So it's a longer duration of the program. Obviously, we've got an eye on how the market's changing. We've got an eye on how COVID might change as well. So there will be online deliveries in the future, but we haven't scheduled them in so far. The online delivery, I have to say, is very professional. We have our own e-learning department within executive education within the business school. So there'll be an online facilitator making sure that it all works. We tend to go through Zoom as well. That said, the face-to-face delivery is very effective as well. And what you get with face-to-face delivery, I think, a bit more than online, is this opportunity to kind of network and interact with the fellow delegates within the cohort. So the next 2 deliveries, the June one and the October one, are face-to-face within the Exec Ed Centre. We will plan some online ones in the future, but they're not scheduled just yet.
Tacita, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Is there an expectation for a residential programme in the future? Kieran, do you want to pick up on the options there?
So as Mike said, absolutely the demand's been for face-to-face. I think we've as lovely as it is to see all of you here today on Zoom, I think people want to go back maybe to face-to-face at a distance. So we're seeing a lot of people wanting to come back to the face-to-face programs. So that can be residential. We don't include accommodation in the course fees because I think that can send the budget to a different level. But we have a hotel on site that you can book into. We have a reduced rate for delegates who attend the program. It's literally a corridor between where we teach and where you stay. And unfortunately, yeah, I have had the odd delegate who's rolled out of bed at sort of 9 o'clock in the morning and rolled into the program. But it's convenience. That's the convenient thing. We also have lots of other hotels in the city of Manchester, the wonderful city of Manchester, and we can give you details of those. So we don't do a specific residential, but on the first day of the face-to-face program, we do take you for a bit of a social event in the evening, so you can get to meet and greet your fellow delegates. So to answer the question, residential is not included in the price, but we can put together a variety of options for you if you want to come to Manchester and stay for the week.
Thanks, Kieran. Great question from Daniel here. What sort of things do you look at for the ILM project? He's slightly concerned that his organisation isn't big enough for the project. Mike, would you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, that's it's a really good question, and the answer is it's a very wide variety, and we like to give delegates kind of freedom and flexibility to focus on something which is impactful and useful and valuable to the organisation. So most of the projects that we have tend to be around either fixing an organisational problem, or overcoming an organisational challenge, or looking at a specific improvement which could be made within the organisation. We tend to ask delegates to have a chat with their line manager or another senior sponsor within the organisation, so that you're getting support from the university, but also support from within the organisation. But you know, we're very, very flexible on what that project could be, and you know, the guiding star really from my perspective is, you know, something that's useful, something that's going to create some value, something that's going to have some impact within the organisation, and we support you throughout the duration of that project. So you know, we don't just say, can you start your project and give us an essay in 6 months' time. You know, we actually support you throughout the process of delivering that project through a series of webinars and action learning sets.
Can I just come on that too, Mike? So Daniel, what Mike and the team are very good at is helping you at those initial stages of the project to scope it. You know, you might have a huge project that we will ask you to scale it back a little, or you may have a smaller project that may not be able to encompass all of the areas that you want to reflect on to get your ILM award. And then Mike will be very, very helpful in terms of suggesting other areas, ways you might expand that project. So for the project, it's actually quite a customized approach. It is unique to you, your organization, but he's absolutely right. It's about utility. We want you to be able to take back to your business a project that says, look, I worked on this and this is what it's doing. This is how it's helping things.
Thank you. We've got one last question coming here from Martin. Do we recommend the programme for people who aren't based in the UK, for people who are based abroad?
Yep, I'd definitely say so. We have one of the reasons of going the 5 days is pre-COVID, people would come over to Manchester, fly into Manchester, stay in the city, do the programme, and maybe add on a couple of days worth of seeing the wonderful sights, sounds and smells of Manchester. So yes, we do recommend it. Personally, I would say that all the material is in English. So to enable people to fully engage with the programme, you'd want your English to be of a standard where you can fully engage. You know, we don't want to take course fees and somebody not to be able to have that full experience. So yes, in non-COVID times, when there aren't massive travel restrictions, we'd probably say about a third, 30 to 40% of people who attend the programme are international. Yeah.
I think that's fair. You know, so you know, we've called it the Manchester Leadership Development Programme, but that doesn't mean it's a kind of local or regional programme. So it's regional, it's national, and it's international. On the last running, we had, you know, delegates from Germany, delegates from Spain. Next year, we're going to have some delegates from Brazil coming over, and they're interesting. They're from the public sector. They're from quite a large teaching hospital from Brazil. So yeah, absolutely, regional, national, and international.
Joe, can I sneak in one last question that was sent to me? So Christian, thanks for joining us. So your question was around, you've already got a level 3, and is it a natural progression? You know, how would you do? I defer to Mike in terms of qualification. I think probably I'd say we can send you the material, have a look at the material. I see no reason, if you're, as you say, if you're leading a team of 8 engineers, I see no reason why this is beyond you. Certainly not. You wouldn't have to go 3 to 5 to 7. But Mike, what do you think in terms of that progression? Do you normally have to go level 3, level 5, level 7, or can you make a bit of a jump?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. So firstly, we always welcome engineers, because I'm an engineer myself. It's a miracle that I work in a business school. We look at applications on individual merit. So it'll be around, you know, what's your previous qualifications, but also your experience. And you know, I think, you know, this is a leadership and management program, and your experience counts for a lot, because what we want you to be able to do is to be in the classroom and to be able to relate to some of the materials and some of the thinking and the models and the frameworks which are being taught, and also be able to interact with you know, sort of fellow delegates and share some of your common experiences. So with the ILM aspect of it, you know, that there's no formal entry requirements. There's just a requirement that we treat each individual application on its merit. So if you're interested in the program, I would suggest that you apply. We'll have a look at your qualifications and background, and do everything in our power to welcome you onto the program. But you know, in general, we need more engineers in the world. So come on.
Well said, Mike. Well said.
So that looks like that's it for the questions for today. They're the ones that have come in through on the chat. So Kieran, I'll hand over to you to just round everything off.
Yeah, so just some on the screen now, and in the slide packs that will be sent out are links to other sessions. Over last year, we actually ran a few sessions, webinars, where we took elements, themes, material from the program and did a short stint. So Mike did one of the first ones called Success Doesn't Happen by Accident, where he spoke in more detail about strategy and innovation. So if you're keen to know what it might be like to go on the program, but you want to do it from the comfort of your own armchair, go onto our YouTube channel. The links are all there, and view some of the past material, and see whether or not this looks like the course you would like to join. So that's all there. Then the only thing that remains is for us to thank you for coming and joining us today. I'd like to thank my wonderful, fabulous, and gorgeous and handsome colleagues, Joe and Mike. Any final words, Mike?
Not really. You know, this is a program that has been very successful. I've personally taught on it for the last couple of years. It's a pleasure to be the sort of program director of the program. And you know, as I say, the success of the program, I think it's underpinned by the content and the delivery of the sessions through our faculty, but also the quality of our delegates and the interaction we have and the sharing of experiences. So if you're feeling that this is the right program for you, we'd love to welcome you on it. If you would like more information, there's a ton on the website where the link is there, but you can get in touch with Kieran, or get in touch with myself as well.
Okay, folks. Thank you once again. Have a very pleasant rest of the day and afternoon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.